It's nice that you came. We are running a little late as in Delhi.
That's fine, but can I just make sure that it's set up?
Yeah, please.
So they first they come and speak in your school?
They do a yes session.
Yes session.
If the students opportunity to come by and see what they do, see their offices, companies, factories.
In the often talk of luxury, what comes to the mind is, prestige, exclusivity, premium price tags. These are generally the standing or the hallmarks for luxury. But necessarily, these are not the only things. And this is what probably we're going to deliberate today and take it further. To start this, we have two pioneers who will be leading the discussion. I request them to join us, Professor Som and Professor Sinha. Professor Ashok Som is the Associate Dean of ESSEC Business School. He is also the Adjunct Faculty for Ahmedabad. He is the Co-Director for ESSEC-IIMA Global Management Program on Luxury. We welcome you. And Professor Piyush Sinha, he is the Professor of Marketing and Retail and Chairperson for Center of Retailing in Ahmedabad. And he is also the Co-Director for ESSEC and IIMA Luxury Management Program.
Thank you, Sanjay. Sanjay is one of our distinguished alumnus of the Global Management Program in Luxury, and he helps us coordinate this three roundtable trilogy which we have launched last year. And he has been working a lot for this program, and thank you, Sanjay. And what we think that today is a day when we start the trilogies in Delhi. It will then be in Bangalore, and then it will be in Mumbai. So we'll start setting the stage of building an Indian international luxury brand, and what we want to do is we want to show or see or discuss today that why don't we have one, or what is there that needs to be done to have one. And this is, let's say, a passion of mine, and I have been working on this for the last 4 years, and we have necessarily put in a lot of effort and a lot of discussions to say that talent is one of the most important things that we want to understand in the luxury business. And so our second conference in Bangalore is on talent management in the luxury industry. And the two sectors that are doing reasonably well in India in the luxury industry are watches and jewelry, mainly watches, which we have tagged here, and wines and champagnes, or wines and spirits, and that is the topic for the Mumbai discussion, which is on the 24th of March. So let me start with, very brief, but let me start with my thoughts on building a luxury brand. The first thing that comes to my mind is it's a paradox. Why is it a paradox? As Patrick Thomas has said, the luxury industry is built on a paradox. The more desirable the brand becomes, the more it sells, but the more it sells, the less desirable it becomes. So once there's a business point of view where you have to sell more, and the other is if you sell more, it doesn't become luxury. And this is the paradox which we want to see and which we want to define. On the other hand, India is a land where we all love, and I am from India. I did my studies all throughout in India. I graduated from Kharagpur and then from Ahmedabad, and then went to ESSEC in the beginning of 2000 and stayed there for the last 10 years. So India is a place where I think there is plenty of inspiration for luxury, and most of the luxury companies, in fact, started in a way business in India. And if you see what Mark Twain says, it's basically a place which is still an inspiration for many of the luxury brands, and they come back and they take the inspiration and they go back and sell it as their own product. But they have mastered something which we still didn't master, and probably that is the difference which we are going to point out in this conference today. So India is a destination. If you ask anyone, first in Europe they would say the first destination is China. China is booming, and then perhaps they would say India or Brazil, but India would be one of the topics of discussion. And then we request Sanjay, who is here, who is spearheading the luxury growth in India, would like to say what are the challenges. Immediately after we discuss about luxury, we talk about the challenges, and then the general discussion is what are the challenges, what should the government do, what should we do, how we should expand in India, and these are most of the important things we discuss. So one of the fastest growing markets, we all know, 60% are wealthy in 8 cities. So basically, if you have 8 cities, we know where the people who can afford luxury brands. And having said that, there are 3 main categories of people who buy today luxury brands. Basically, the old wealth, people who know about luxury, who have been using luxury, who have been habituated to the luxury industry. The second is the newer-ish, who are basically now getting rich, who are working, who have excess income, who want to understand what is happening in the luxury industry. And the last one, or not the least one, are the emerging wealth, which are the professionals who like to wear brands like TAG, who like to have some wine, who like to have champagne, who are traveling, and thus they know exactly, or they are knowledgeable to understand what is meant by the industry in scope. Now, as we evolve over time, this is a slide which I borrowed, is that Indian woman has changed their way of understanding of how to use luxury over time. And the industry understands this, can understand how to target this population for the luxury industry, but still there are so many faces, like we have faces in our gods and goddesses, that it is very difficult to say that this is the one model that we have. And that is, I think, a constant challenge for the industry. Another interesting thing is where luxury has been very successful, that is the country. In Japan, the consumers were very demanding, the consumers are information oriented and value conscious, which is same as India. So basically, another one is they are picky versus pampered, rational versus emotional, and they want to have a part of the luxury industry, but still they would like to associate themselves with the brands that are mostly from the US, from France and from Italy. Having said that, this is something that foreign companies do, and they are very successful with that. This is a Spanish company. The general global spend is around $500, but when they come to India, they did something which was very original. They understood the luxury business, and the Indian average spend was $1,300. So if we say that India doesn't want, or India doesn't know, or India doesn't pay, or if they are very picky, which is not true, probably. There's another brand which was Judy Leiber, which is also the similar story. They understood that Indians understand some of the brands and some of the things that can be associated with it, and basically our Ganesh retails at around $1,500, which is in the luxury category. Having said that, so why not an Indian luxury brand? And I have some of our alums who will speak about that. And this is something I'm not going to detail, but this is a company, this is a brand which has done, which I've seen in Paris quite a lot, and it does very well in some of the places in the world. In fact, the story goes like this. I was in New Zealand, Auckland, and while walking on the street, I saw something of the similar feature with the goggles in one of the stores, and I immediately called a guy who will be here speaking. I won't introduce him just now, but I'll introduce him later, which is something which was astonishing. And what about these brands? Probably you know the first one is Forest Essential, which has been bought, has been bought by Estee Lauder. The hotel that you are sitting in now, if you see this grand ballroom, this is one of the finest places you can have in any of the hotels in the world. If you have Sula, there is another partner of ours who will be not speaking today, but they have been with us from the first day onwards, is the jewelry company called Ganjam, so why not Ganjam? And how to do branding, for example. This is something about Indian brands which we might want to discuss in our roundtable. So I was in Brazil for the IHT conference in October, and we saw Brazilian brands. So I thought that I'll put some Brazilian brands out here. The first one is a hotel, which is a boutique hotel. The second one is, those who have been to Brazil and the US, H-Stern, which is a jewelry company, which has done very well. Then it's then there is a company which does only swimwear, beachwear. Then there is a company which is into fashion. Then in China, there are two companies which are their own companies, but they've been bought by European companies. One is Shanghai Tang and one is Shangxia, which is a partnership of Hermes. So basically, if you see the emerging market, there are companies which want to promote themselves as luxury. So what we have done is, I have spent my 10 minutes, I think, a little more, to understand what are the retail formats, what is the network, what is the brand management, what are the ingredients for to make the luxury industry grow, make a luxury brand work. And we have a list of very eminent speakers today. We have Tamir, who is hosting this conference, who is our venue partner. We have Sanjay, who is very active in this industry, like all of you know. We have Ashis Chordia and Andres, who are with the Ferrari, and they have made a big impact on the luxury industry very recently. We have Deepak, who is one of our ESSEC-IIMA alum, who is one of the co-owners of 3 clothing industries, and he will speak about his brand and how they have promoted the brand for the last 6-7 years in Europe and in the US. And then we thought that we would have someone who is a close friend, who is Arun, who works with Reliance ADAG, and he is very close to the luxury industry because it's Bollywood. So he would speak from a Bollywood perspective of how luxury brands have utilized the Bollywood industry, or the Bollywood industry have utilized the luxury brand to make it more popular, or to make it a growth story in India. And we have Piyush as another co-director from the IIMA side, who is going to do a roundup of the discussions that we have, and then we will have a roundtable discussion.
Well, I can't think of a more befitting place to discuss luxury. The Leela in Chanakyapuri is today really become the hub for luxury brands and anything to do with luxury in the city of New Delhi. Just to take you back a bit, we opened the hotel in April of last year, and I arrived here in India 4 years ago when Leela was only 4 hotels, and today we are just approaching our 8th hotel, which is going to be opening in Chennai this year, in a couple of months. And when I arrived in the country, I was responsible for the opening of Leela in Udaipur. Now, Udaipur being a destination of leisure, it was just after 26/11, and I remember the big conundrum that we were sitting in the conference rooms together with the mayor family and the vice presidents of the Leela Hotels and Resorts, and we were saying, how are we going to now, capitalize the situation of luxury travels coming to India? 26/11 has just happened. Here we are embarking in the city of Udaipur, where it has already 2 very iconic hotels, the Leela Palace and Uday Villas of Oberoi, and we're coming with a new hotel, probably the city that gets the highest rates for hotels in a leisure destination. And here we are now, 3 years later, opening I would say, one of the most phenomenal hotels and hotel developments in the country. This is the most expensive hotel that has opened yet. And we have imported 2 very important brands, such as usher and Megu, 2 international restaurants from New York City. And today we have become the hub for luxury brands that want to come and not only launch new products, but to use this as a platform, this hotel as a platform, to discuss, to project, and to offer luxury. And for us at Leela, luxury is really about the people that we have behind the brand. Yes, it is beautiful to have chandeliers and a $5 million art collection and wonderful restaurants that you bring from New York City and BMWs that whisk you from the airport to wherever you want to go. But for us, luxury is about the people that serve every single day, the guests that come and are willing to pay a premium for what it is that we offer. And today this hotel has managed to get a premium for its services, its products. It offers it's gaining actually the highest rate in the city of New Delhi and in the country for city hotels. which means and says something about luxury, I think. And that is that there are people that are looking to not only be surrounded by luxury, because luxury is a reflection on how good they are in business and how they do business, but it is really a reflection of what India is capable of. And I think this is only an indication of times to come of more brands in the luxury hotel sector which are going to come in, which are going to embark and follow in our footsteps and see the potential that there is in the luxury niche market, in the hotel business, in attracting really the average traveler that is coming here to this country. The important thing to remember is that the Indian traveler is a huge component of what it is that we are attracting. We do not only do business with the international market. India today is a huge potential for us, and we see Indians embarking more and more and wanting to do more and more with luxury surroundings. They have well-traveled, they know what luxury is all about, they stay in luxury hotels around the world. And guess what? When they do business in India, when they travel around India, they want to be getting as equal amount of luxury experience here in their home turf of India as much as they would in New York City, Paris, Milan, or anywhere else. So I think that is only an indication of what luxury is about here in this country, what brands like Leela have been able to provide in terms of the luxury experience. And I think in years to come as well, as Leela is expanding within India, as eventually Leela is also going to expand internationally, luxury becomes far more affordable. So we have so many more people with so many more expectations and so many more experiences that we cater to. And luxury is becoming so much more refined, so much more personalized, that I think at the end of this evening and this discussion, luxury is really about oneself. We all have different experiences of what luxury is about. We all look at luxury very differently. And Leela is a milestone and a step towards, I think, the future of luxury here in India and internationally. So thank you very much for bringing this discussion to us. We're delighted to have you here with us and have you all, and keep on coming and enjoying luxury here at Leela in Chanakyapuri. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. The topic today is talking about building an Indian international luxury brand, but let's define, we do have Indian international luxury brands. India has excelled in some of the services globally. Some of the hotels, like this beautiful hotel, the Vilasas across the country, are known all over the world. The Taj Mahal in Bombay is known all over. I think usually people refer to luxury only on products. If you talk about products, actually luxury is not a new concept in India. This is the land of the Maharajas, for example. We've been used to very high level of craftsmanship, which is intrinsically part of our culture. It's ingrained in us. For centuries, we've been known to produce some of the best handmade products: shawls, carpets, embroideries, jewelry, leather goods. So when you talk about luxury, usually the common thing comes back to you is Hermes and Vuitton and Gucci and names like that. But we've been producing bespoke things in India for many, many years. Many foreigners, many Indians buy great products in India. They may not be branded, but they're great quality. They're actually bespoke. Today, the West is doing bespoke, what we've been doing for years. I mean, brands like Zania and Kanali are doing bespoke suits, but we've been getting suits stitched by great tailors in India for years and years and years. So I don't think luxury is new to us in many ways. I think where we have failed really is marketing our brand. The brand India has failed in many ways, and I think in the generation that's going to come, we should be able to change that. But when you step back for a second and say, what does it take to create an international luxury label? Loads of money, loads of effort, and sometimes, when we have a portfolio, we have our own Indian brand, and we brought in brands to India, the Indian market itself is huge, right? So have Indian designers, Indian brands thought of expanding globally or the Indian market? So I think companies like ours in Genesis, we looked at the Indian market as a larger market, and I think I'd love to promote India as a luxury brand. We know how to consume great products. I was talking with Tamir earlier today, and he was talking about all his wonderful clients that come to ESSEC, who know about wines, who know about the foods, who know about the experience in consuming, right? So it's not that we're really left behind. 10 years ago, or 15 years ago, if you walked into a departmental store, let's say you walked into Selfridges, you may not have got the best service. Today, Indians are walking into the finest departmental stores and probably getting better service than some of the locals because we're spending money, we're consuming it, we understand what we want. Will an Indian brand ever become international? Will it ever become luxury? Yes, services already have. I think it's a matter of time before somebody decides that let's expand outside the Indian market, create a market globally, but I think that will only happen once you've satiated our own Indian demand. Today, for example, in Sanjay we run 40 stores. Do I want to open my first store overseas or do I want to open another 10 stores here in India? Rather just open 10 stores here in India. I think, India is a large country. We have 1.2 billion at the last census. It probably changes every year, right? And there is wealth being created on a regular basis. What are we doing to educate those customers to consume better and better? So this is a land of opportunity. I think for all of you students out there and people in the luxury business, I think the journey is just starting. As India gets wealthier, as economic consumption, people talk about economic growth at let's say 7% per annum on a bad year, 8-9% on a good year. But remember, rural India is probably growing at 3%, urban India is growing at 15%. That's kind of wealth that's being created today in India, and people are spending it, consuming it. Go to a weekend, go to Emporio on a weekend, you find traffic jam there. I believe on Christmas Eve they had a footfall of 24,000. We're talking about a luxury mall out here. So I think yes, brands will come, the market will open, and it's a great time to be in business in India. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity, Ashok, to share my views, and thank you for Tamir to host us here. Thank you. Great. As Ashok said, we do a couple of things in India, and not so much in our branding, but we deal with probably the most sought after brands globally in various sectors, be it the audio, video, be it the luxury clothing, accessories, bags, cars, bikes, watercrafts, and so on, aviation. I'll go through, I'll give you a group overview, just show you what we do, and then more so talk about on a larger basis on the Indian market and how we feel about it. And we're as bullish on it as Sanjay is, as he said earlier. And so we work on a very variety of platforms. We're the distributors for Porsche, so we've set up a whole franchise network across India, just like any other manufacturer would. We do a similar job for Ducati, which we're very excited about. We just launched a new product, which is assembled in Thailand. Therefore, we get the benefits of the after treaty and be able to bring the price point of 800cc at a very affordable segment. We have a relationship with Deges, which is one of the best, the world's best fractional ownership aircraft service. We have the distributors for Ferrari, Maserati, Bombardier. Bombardier, BRP is basically a division of Bombardier from Canada, which produces recreational products like Can-Am Spyder, which has 3 wheels on the bike with 2 wheels in the front and 1 in the back. Then they have jet skis, ski-doos, and all sorts of recreational products. This is the Delhi one, which is on Jump Up. It's built exactly to the standards anywhere else in the world. Then we have Maserati, which is opening in Delhi shortly, Mumbai, and then also the network plan for 13 and 15, the new products coming on board as well. And the products we will look on focusing on as we have ambitious plans with both as Bombardier and Bangalore as well. Thank you so much. I strongly believe that the next 5 years in India, one of the key factors I think China, if you look at China's growth from 2005 onwards, what they did before 05 and what they did after 05 is a very different story. And one of the key factors is in 2005 is when they hit the $1,000 per capita GDP. India hit it, I think, earlier this year or last year. It's debatable by a lot of people, but the moment is right. And I think the next 5 years will evidence activities and growth patterns that we haven't seen previously. And I think it's going to be an exciting period for everyone who's involved in services as well as goods. Thank you so much.
So we've heard a lot of explanations or definitions on luxury from everybody all the time whenever we go to a luxury conference. So I'm going to just speak on my area of expertise, which is fashion, and what Manish and myself have been doing over the past 11 years together. So building an international luxury brand from India, I think first and foremost, when it comes to fashion, all the luxury brands have had a creator. So someone who has had deep knowledge of the product and a very strong individual personality. So if you see anywhere in the world, whatever the luxury brands that we see today, there was a time when there was a single creator who had this vision and this expertise, and he was able to build it and be passionate about it. And that's what we call today a luxury brand, whether it was a Christian Dior, whether it was a Louis Vuitton, whether it was Yves Saint Laurent. They were all really passionate individuals who believed in their product, and when they were designing and creating something, it was something that they really believed in, and that's what truly made them a luxury brand today. So I think the most important thing about having a luxury brand to be created, at least in fashion, it needs an individual who really believes in the product, in himself, and has a strong individual identity, and that's what really creates the luxury product over a period of time. I think it's like any other business. I think the luxury business too needs very strong fundamentals. I think we need to always remember that you have to have a great product at a great price. There has to be a strong marketing plan to support it. And to build awareness globally, one needs to be aware of the latest trends internationally and research in different markets and their culture and customs. So when we started our first show in London in 2005, when we were the first company from India to have been invited at the London Fashion Week, it was something that was on the basis of a collection that we designed and what Manish had shown in India in the India Fashion Week. And there was a lady from London who was here to see the collection, and that's when they were very keen that we came to London and showed in the London Fashion Week. So that was the beginning of Manish really going international, and there was so much buzz in London when he went to show there. And what's really amazing is that Manish has this real knack of understanding the markets and a real quick learning when he goes, he's traveling most of the time, and I'm just, while I'm speaking about creating a luxury brand internationally, I'm just trying to, we ourselves are in a learning process, but we do happen to be the only Indian company that is a member of the Chamber Syndicale in Paris, where you have only 100 members, and there are members like Louis Vuitton, Chanel, Dior. So it puts us in a place where there's nobody else from India. So we are also learning while we are doing this ourselves. And I think in fashion, what it needs to be really is that one needs to have this amazing product that they can then possibly show in one of the 4 fashion weeks. So you have London, you have Milan, you have New York, and you have Paris. So to really think about building a luxury brand, I think from fashion's perspective, one has to be able to show in any of these fashion weeks. And that's what can then give them that platform to eventually, over a period of time, become a luxury brand.
Well, I don't want to restate and re-emphasize the power of Bollywood and its ability to influence Indian culture and Indian consumer behavior. And I'm not here to sell you Bollywood in that context either. Neither do you claim the potential of luxury market in India. To my mind, possibly the first luxury brand that got noticed was some 15 years ago, and that is DKNY in a movie Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, which was directed by Karan Johar. There was no marketing deal in place with DKNY, and it was just designed by the designer, and the DKNY logo was put on Shah Rukh Khan t-shirt. And the whole one song was shot with that t-shirt, wherein Shah Rukh was dancing and jumping with his co-star. It became quite a race at that time, and the marketers noticed for the first time ever a designer label. And this suddenly opens up the eyes of brand marketers. The second such brand probably would be is Swiss Tourism. They were the early people who realized the power of Bollywood and tied up with the most respectable studio of India, that is wherein. Their association became a huge success, and Switzerland even today is the most preferred destination by Indians, though there are so many varied destinations in the world for tourism. Having said so, the Bollywood from then has traveled a long way and has witnessed the following issue. Consolidation happened, and today you have only 6 to 8 large studios like Reliance, UTV, Viacom, Warner Brothers, Fox, YRF, Thermal Productions, Excel, etc. And they have becoming strong day by day, since more than 100 films releases every year through these studios. With the invent of the studios, Bollywood has brought in a lot of professionalism. Every studio has got professional marketing teams. It has become much easier to deal with one single window, since they involve themselves right from the script stage. Bollywood has seen more than 100 new directors in the last 2 years, and the average age is of 32 years. They all are young and have traveled globally and understand the value of brand types. Today, the variety of films has increased and the reach of Bollywood has become global. In the last few years, the dynamics of overseas distribution has changed, and today Bollywood is being distributed internationally, which has changed the luxury brand point of view, since it reaches out to South Asian all over the world, and the reach aspect has become very strong. To sum up, I would say Bollywood represents a powerful channel which cannot be ignored from the brand marketing perspective, and I must say all the international luxury brands must have a Bollywood strategy. It does not mean only in films. It can also be star endorsements, multiplex activations, sponsorship of award events, appearances, so many things, but Bollywood strategy is must. As they say in movies, picture will baki. Thank you very much.
Essentially what we are saying that when we are small, we have friends and colleagues and people around us who help us a lot. But the moment we start growing, we actually grow beyond the knowns and start selling to strangers. That's the first challenge that one faces when one grows. As long as I am in the known terrain, I know people who work with us, they buy because they know us, and that's something which is there. But the moment we grow big, we are selling to the world, and therefore the issues of scaling up becomes much more important to us. And which is where you will find that if you look at the lines which are drawn, the first line is the longest one before you actually branch off. Essentially what we are saying, in order that we start scaling up, and this is something which is so very true of luxury. For that matter, for every brand, but for luxury, it is much more true that first of all, let's establish ourselves in the market that we are in, whatever market that we choose to be in. First, let's set standards, let's be known by that, and then we think of actually getting into other markets. And it's not because of the money required, it's not because of the resources, but it's essentially because luxury has two broad dimensions, and which is what given on the right hand side is what we call the tacit and the intangible dimensions. Tacit dimensions are still easy to capture, but what happens to the intangible or the emotional dimensions that we have, which takes time. In fact, somebody told me this, and what it says is that a luxury brand needs to grow onto people. It is not something that you can throw onto people, unlike popular brands. And therefore, the ramification is that we need time. That's the biggest ramification, which means does mean resources, but more importantly, how have we managed our association with the clients, our own customers. And that's where the first most important thing that one must, or most companies have looked around, is that first understand what core value do we have.
Luxury brand coming out of India, it's a very paradoxical image. I think we need to correct that image in people's head before we can really push ourselves as a luxury destination or maker of luxury products.
Fashion is something like that. Maybe in hospitality, one can build a super luxury.
Bollywood influences people, right? And also by them associating with luxury kind of enhances their credibility. I mean, we run so many luxury brands and we work with so many Bollywood stars. We never pay them, but it's in their interest also to be associated with luxury. So it's a twin-edged sword. Works well for both.
What's the film called?
It should sound like an accent.
Vazutukalam.
Let me hear you say it.
Vazutukalam. I won't have an accent. Sorry.
You understood the essence of what we're talking about. As a brand, like look at fashion for example. So if you're a small company, if you're a luxury brand, you're not.
So talented Indians globally, and I believe they are more expensive than the expat-speaking source. So because they are in very good positions abroad, hopefully we will have more talent pool coming out of India, and we will be able to also grow as a company to attract some talent of Indian origin which is out abroad, and also recruit locals.
Discussing whether at all an Indian brand should actually be looking to go outside India. So our conclusion was, why are we trying to do something that we really don't need to at this point in time?
I thought this was interesting to come here and listen to what people have to say about luxury in India. And I come from Bollywood table. Arun has given us a lot of inputs. Mostly we talked about Bhagwani and what's the market like and what we see in future. So basically, our neighbors China is like the main market for luxury. We are still way behind them by 15 years. And there are a lot of films which are coming with a lot of, like international luxury markets. Even the Malayali films and Tamil films are coming out with a lot of luxury brands. So we see where the market has seeped like at the bottom level, a lot of basic.
Good evening everyone, this is Aarti from Getting Info Services. We just don't have one point, we have a couple of points, so I would just take in a very nutshell in terms of summarization. The first thing which we discussed and we kind of concluded is a big thing that we look into is the infrastructure. Are we really ready with the kind of infrastructure these luxury brands require in India and the way we should be taking it in India? Then the second part which we came upon is the service. Do we have the right kind of people to service these kind of brands? Firstly, and secondly, post-sale service. So are we ready with that kind of manuals, that kind of trainings, that kind of feedback for the customer to come back to us once the things are in place? The third thing which we actually took was the orientation of a customer locally in terms of various cities in India and as it is in capitals. Are we actually catering them upfront or how we are actually taking it? And the first point raised by Ravi, we again discussed the same thing in terms of how we should take luxury brands. Shall we actually cater to the domestic market or let's target the global? So I think we as a brand need to have both the approaches. Developing it domestically and as well as taking it internationally in terms of making a bigger brand buzz about the brand which we are talking about. Thank you.
We were discussing on our table, can an Indian luxury brand make it to the international circuits? Okay, we concluded, there are 4 points, then I'll give you my opinion, what I feel. We felt that Indian luxury is currently in the midst of developing domestic before venturing outside. That's what even Sanjay was mentioning, That's why he wants to concentrate here in India, I guess. Same goes with the other brands too. The second route which Deepak came up with an idea, instead of probably we going from India to overseas, probably we develop Indians developing international brands overseas and bringing it to India. The example which came up was Bose, which is it's absolutely apt and right. Indian guy, started off in US, and now we admire the brand here in India. Okay. Next, what Deepak and the other colleagues also mentioning that we consider if we need to have a luxury brand of our own Indian brand, we need to go by the decades and decades of putting craftsmanship, expertise, time, energy, funding, as we rightly said about ROI. then only we can arrive at a situation where we have a luxury brand, Indian luxury brand. My opinion, what I feel, maybe India is at the moment, looking at affordable luxury.
Hi, I'm Kamit, and we just had a great discussion, and this is regarding starting from somebody who was working and becoming an entrepreneur. I think that's what we all hope for. We all want to be our own bosses. So here's somebody who took the most difficult way of doing a luxury business, which is really a great way to pick a step. And we're still struggling becoming Indian brand, becoming an international brand. We have a guy who's still holding on to expanding and doing a luxury. He says for him it's a business where you lose and you think how much can you lose to be there, is what he says. So it's a very, very difficult business, very, very hardship, patience, and great research goes into doing something, doing a luxury brand. So in total, we realize he has been doing a lot of marketing, a lot of customer resource management, where he actually spends time, knowing what the customer wants. He has a portfolio where he tries to maintain and touch base with each one of them by having some informal get-togethers. So he's just gradually, slowly doing it. He's trying to expand to many other countries. We wish him all the best, and we hope, I'm sure we'll have at least one brand from India becoming luxury very soon. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Pramod Joshi and I'm representing Andrea's table. We had a fairly active discussion. Started off by the question posed by Andreas. Should India build itself as a source of luxury brands before an individual brand goes out there and tries to build itself as a luxury brand? So we had a little bit of discussion around that, and it was felt that India, being the country it is, it would be difficult for it to present itself as a source of luxury brands. We live in a country with a lot of people below the poverty line. So it was said that it's maybe better for a brand to try and do it by itself and project itself from the sourcing of things that are unique to India. For example, it could be exotic spices, or it could be nature therapies, things, or even tourism, like we have Palace on the Wheels. We have a rich history, so maybe we could package some of that into luxury experiences for people abroad.
Quickly, now Piyush is going to explain what we do. Before that, I think a quick summary is, let me change the question a bit, which is for the next two conferences, is can Indians buy luxury companies? This I think we need to think about, and probably we'll see in the near future countries like Brazil, from countries like China, people are going to buy companies which are luxury companies, of France, which are luxury companies of Italy, for example, one day. Piyush.
I think Ashok touched on a very, very interesting point, which is again a way to look at it. This program that we do, the brochure which is on the table, is a 15-day program that we do, and this roundtable is part of that, in which each of the participants spend 1 week in Ahmedabad on the campus, and 1 week in Paris on the campus of ESSEC, wherein we not only get into the question of what luxury is all about, but how to really run a luxury business successfully. And therefore, the faculty that comes in is not just a faculty like me who is in a graduation, but also people who have worked in the luxury industry.
Thank you, Professor Som. I am an alumnus, and I had the privilege of joining the program in Paris. And I still remember the first class which I went to, and I had studied the whole program the night before, like a Indian student. And I find this gentleman walking into the class with two bottles of champagne, and then we had that champagne. So it's a good program to do that way. The other good thing about the whole program is, see, I went there from India, and in India, whatever my experience has been at fashion is that beyond the Gucci, Pradas and Burberrys of the world, we really don't have real knowledge about luxury brands. So during the body, we went to brands like Xiaomi, we had the privilege to go and visit the house of Louis Vuitton.
which was a great experience. We went and saw the factory, and then all of us, including Arun, ran to buy the bags in the evening. I would suggest that you guys talk to all of us as alumni, look at the program and do it. It's a great program. Thank you so much for coming.